The story begins with a naughty and mischievous kid named Theo. He often got his homework done by other students by tempting them to play video games, and instead of walking through a door, he'd climb a pipe and sneak through the window in his room. One day, Theo was having a banana on the roof and tossed out the peel down on the ground. However, a portal opened up on the place where the peel was thrown and the peel vanished into it. When he didn't hear the sound of the peel landing, he went to check downstairs and found no peel. He then tossed his roller skate at the same place from above, and the same thing happened again. His roller skate vanished into the portal. This astonished Theo, and he threw a rock also to confirm his suspicions, which also vanished. He then went on to tell his older brother Oscar about it. Their parents weren't around, so they lived with their grandmother. Oscar is really mad at Theo as he ripped some pages from their mom's diary and made paper planes out of it. As Theo explains about the portal, Oscar assumes that Theo is messing with him again. Their mom had also disappeared some time ago. Theo had believed that she ran away with someone. However, Oscar believed her to be a great scientist who was working on creating time portals, and she succeeded but is stuck in some other time. Oscar wanted to understand his mother's research notes and wanted to bring her back. Both brothers bickered for some time, then their grandma called them for food. The brothers seemed to quiet down in front of her, but as soon as she left, their argument restarted. In a fit of anger, Oscar cursed Theo, and Theo retaliated by throwing Oscar's pet turtle into the portal. Oscar searched everywhere for his turtle, but when he couldn't find it, he had to put up missing posters everywhere to locate him. Oscar was really attached to the turtle and became pretty upset about losing him. Theo soon realizes his mistake and thinks of jumping into the portal and fixing everything on his own. As soon as he jumped, he landed in the same spot where everything he had thrown earlier ended up. Oscar's turtle was also there, so Theo took it back home and put him in the exact spot from where he had picked him and goes back to sleep. However, when the day dawns upon, everything has changed. Oscar was all grown up and turned into an adult. Theo had actually used the portal to jump ahead in time from 1990 to 2022. In 2022, Oscar was a physics professor. Afterwards, Oscar goes to a store owned by David to pick up some stuff. A bit later, David's daughter, Elena, showed up. Oscar and Elena had been good friends for some time, and Oscar always had a crush on her growing up. Now, Elena is divorced and the mother of 2 kids. But Oscar still had feelings for her, and Elena was an English professor at Oscar's university. Back at home, Theo woke up and started looking for Oscar. He picked up the turtle and tried to locate Grandma, who is now very old and couldn't recognize Theo. When Oscar saw Theo, it shocked him so much that he fainted. All this confused Theo too, and he did not recognize Oscar. He asked him who he is and how he recognizes him to be Theo. Oscar told him that he is his older brother, which amazes Theo, and he asks him how he got so much older in just one day. After some discussion, they all conclude that Theo has somehow ended up in the future. They talked about the time when Oscar was mad at Theo for ripping pages from their mom's diary. Theo showed Oscar a picture of their mom in a red dress, and Theo was now desperate to go back to 1990 as he fears his grandma will be mad at him. Theo went back up to the roof to jump into the portal, but when he threw a rock down, it didn't disappear. This meant that the particular portal had closed in 2022. Theo was puzzled as to how the portal could be closed. Oscar explained that time travel isn't so easy or straightforward. The way he came in 2022 couldn't possibly mean that he can go back to where he came from. Oscar then realized that they need to find another portal in 2022, which can lead Theo back to his origin year. Gathering some information, Oscar took Theo to meet his senior professor, and he explained that in 2022, science and technology had advanced a lot. However, time portals couldn't possibly exist as of now. Hearing this information, both brothers left the place. Theo was pretty astonished by the advanced and modern world. He saw Oscar's phone and asked him about what it was. Oscar explained that it was a phone, but it didn't require the dialing of numbers the way it did back in 1990. Oscar calmed Theo, saying that they needed to focus on finding the portal. Theo then told Oscar that he found a handwritten list in their mom's papers when was tearing them up for paper planes. He had hidden those in a dictionary to annoy Oscar. He thought that it might have some helpful clues to find a portal. They asked Grandma about the dictionary, to which she replied that she had given it to David. The next day, Oscar told Theo that he is going to meet David and instructed Theo to stay at home, but Theo secretly snuck out due to his mischievousness and headed to a mall. He was absolutely stunned by the unique gadgets in the mall, and he accidentally broke a VR headset while trying it out. Oscar was called to the mall and had to pay for all the damages. Oscar rebuked Theo for not paying attention to what he said. Then, they both went to David's departmental store to find the dictionary. David said that he had the dictionary at his home, and just then, Elena walked in. Theo was amazed at how she had become. Elena then asked about who the little kid is and how he knows about her. Oscar lied and said that Theo was his cousin's son, and he somehow changed the subject back to the dictionary. Elena then invited both the brothers to her house, and her kids were busy playing video games. Theo was very much impressed by the advancement of video games and started getting along with Elena's son. Back home, Theo and Oscar got to work. On the roof, Oscar explained that the list found in the dictionary had locations for different portals. They visited those places and tried throwing things in the portals, but nothing worked. Oscar thought he made some mistakes in his calculations and started recalculating. Meanwhile, Theo kept asking him why he was always alone and didn't get along with people or have friends. Also, why he had not told Elena of his feelings. Oscar responded while calculating that even though Elena was divorced, he didn't think anything could ever happen between them romantically. Without Oscar's knowledge, Theo invited Elena, her kids, and David from Oscar's phone for dinner. When they showed up at the door, Oscar was shocked to see everyone. Theo explained that he had called everyone, making Oscar understand his mischief. During this time, Oscar and Elena grew closer, and the next day, Elena took Theo shopping and got some new clothes. In the changing room, Theo was doing his usual funny football commentary, which reminded Elena that Oscar's little brother used to do so in childhood, and she realizes that Theo is none other than Oscar's little brother. She hugged Theo and asked him why he hadn't aged since he disappeared. Theo explained the whole scenario of the time portal and how he ended up in 2022. Elena couldn't believe it, however. She couldn't deny the living proof standing in front of her. She even asked Oscar to confirm the ordeal. To prove this concept, Oscar threw a rock from the roof, which bounced back, which shows that there was a time portal at this place. He then explained that there are 3 kinds of time portals. The first kind allowed direct travel from one time to another. The second kind might dump you anywhere in time, and the third kind was extremely dangerous as you couldn't get out of it. Theo had used the first kind of portal to get to 2022, and now they had to search for the right portal to send him back from where he came. Now all of them started researching every day, and Oscar really liked having Elena around so often. He even danced happily when he was alone, as the two had started looking for the right portal together as a team. However, Elena wasn't very happy to send Theo back to 1990, because changing the past might change their future here in 2022. There might be a possibility of her kids never being born, whom she loves dearly. But Oscar promised her that Theo going back to 1990 wouldn't affect Elena's course of life, and that he'd try his best to keep Elena's life safe and untouched. They considered options as to how they can keep both the timelines intact. Theo then had an idea to crack the codes written by his mom in the list and got help from Elena's son. He figured that if he went to the past with their help, it would guarantee that they'll be born in the future, because if they weren't, he never would have been able to reach the past. The 3 of them used a map to find a shortcut that Theo believed was a time portal. He thought that it could take him back to 1990 and excitedly jumped into the ocean water where they believed the portal existed. Elena's kids also jumped unwillingly into the portal, and when they reached the shore, they were shocked to see that the city from where they had jumped is now standing in front of them as mountains. They had traveled to the past, but it was 1949 when the city had not been built. Stuck in an unknown time, the three of them tried to figure out what went down. And they realized that they had used the second kind of portal, which can throw them anywhere in time. Meanwhile, in 2022, a worried Elena called Oscar, explaining to him that Theo, along with her kids, had disappeared. Oscar said that they might have found the 1990 portal, and Oscar and Elena would have to go into it to bring them back. In 1949, the three kids had no money, and their phones were not working. Also, they all were very hungry. Then, Brenda and Nathan came up with an idea that they should use their gadgets to perform mind-bending magic tricks for the people and earn some money. Nathan sat in a distant place with the phone, while Brenda faced the audience. Theo would write a name on a board and stand behind her. Nathan will see the name from his hidden spot and communicate with Brenda through wireless earphones and tell her the name. This captivated the audience, and all three of them earned some money from this trick. However, the police spotted them soon after. Doing such tricks without proper permission was forbidden at this time. Theo noticed the police officers and signaled Brina and Nathan, and they all took off from there immediately. While running, an unknown man kidnapped the three kids and took them to an unknown place, putting their lives in greater danger. Back in 2022, Oscar and Elena found the entry to the 1990 portal, and they held hands and jumped together in the portal. Elena felt like she was dreaming while time traveling. In 1990, Theo's missing posters were everywhere. In 1949, the man who had kidnapped the kids brought them to a gang who was against the government. The gang leader then asked why the man had brought these kids to him, to which the man replied that these kids knew the gang's secret code. Confused, Theo asked the man about which code he was talking about, to which the man replied that the whistle that Theo made to help escape his friends is same as the code that the gang uses to escape from the police. Theo learned the whistle from his grandma, and just then a young woman from the gang came over. This was Theo's grandma when she was young. Theo realized that this young woman is his grandma and she has been a member of this gang, and they had learned to whistle from her. Theo kept it to himself that she was his grandma and did not disclose it to Brenda and Nathan. This gang was against the government, but worked for the good of the people, and they had no intention of harming the children, which meant that the three of them were safe for the time being. Meanwhile, in 1990, Oscar and Elena were searching for the kids in Oscar's home, but no one was there. Suddenly, they heard someone's voice and had to hide in a cupboard. They realized that it was little Oscar crying over Theo's disappearance. Oscar from the future felt really sad seeing this. In 1949, the three kids started to adapt to the lifestyle of the gang, as they thought they couldn't go back to the time using the portal. However, Theo wasn't finding it too difficult to adjust due to him being with his grandma. Then, one day, Theo asked his grandma to take a photo of them together and also told her to keep this photo safe with her. This statement caused a sudden change in Grandma's photo frame in 1990, and now the photo included Nathan, Brenda, and Theo. Oscar noticed the same in 1990 and found coordinates written behind the picture, which were actually written by Theo, hoping that Elena and Oscar would find it one day and travel to 1949 and save them. Elena and Oscar realized that had to go back in 2022 and travel through the 1949 portal in order to bring back the kids. They did exactly the same and reached 1949 to rescue the kids. In 1949, Theo told the gang members that his brother Oscar would come and get him soon. So, two people were stationed at the shore to fetch Oscar and Elena, and when they signaled them with the whistle, Oscar replied in the same manner as he also knew the whistle through his grandma. Elena reunites with her kids, however. Theo shows his wish to stay back in 1949 as he enjoyed this time a lot. Oscar felt terrible hearing his wish and told him that he doesn't want to leave him here and wants to live with his little brother. Just then, their young grandma arrived, which shocked Oscar. Now all they had to do was to find the time portal to go back to 2022. So, a man from the gang was driving them to a potential time portal. This man was none other than Oscar and Theo's grandpa. Soon, they traveled back to 2022, and now Oscar prepared to send Theo back to 1990. Theo didn't want to go back because he had no one in 1990. He told Oscar that he wants to stay with him now, as he reminded him a little bit of their dad. Oscar hugged Theo lovingly and explained to him that Oscar in 1990 was also very lonely without his little brother Theo, and he really needed him to be there. Reluctantly, Theo went back to 1990, and Oscar was overjoyed to have him back. His grandma also gave him a lot of love and care. When Theo was asked about where he had been, he told Grandma about a fake story of being kidnapped by a gang. Oscar, confused and upset by Theo's disappearance, now started to believe that their mom had really left them. Frustrated by the thought, he began throwing the books of his mom on the floor, but Theo came over and recited the actual story behind his disappearance. He even showed Oscar the phone he had got from 2022. However, Oscar wasn't entirely convinced by the story, but after seeing the phone, he couldn't deny it either. Both brothers then decided never to use the time portal again and promised to be happy in the present. Now, in 2022, both brothers were together. As soon as the doorbell rang, Theo joked that Oscar's girlfriend Elena must be here and advised him to finally tell Elena how he felt. Theo had deliberately not told Oscar about Elena before, as he wanted her to be divorced and have both her kids in the present. As soon as Oscar opened the door, Elena was outside, and from here, their lives could take a turn. Finally, the scene shifts to a much older time, in which a portal opened and a woman fell out from it. This was a very ancient time, and people had no idea about science. This woman was none other than Theo and Oscar's mother, and the story ends right there.